Up, it's your boy Dylan Freeman, and today I'm reacting to When Japan Was Terrified of Schoolgirls, a Generic Pandemic by Nukes Edox. Hope I said that right.
Japan is known for being a very conservative and conforming country, except for when it comes to the party scene in Shibuya and Harajuku, but that's besides the point. But one thing that a lot of people don't know about is that Japan has a very colorful history of anti-establishment groups. And at one point, the entire country was terrorized by roving packs of high school girl gangs.
Wait, let me see. Let me hear it again.
What people don't know about is that Japan has a very colorful history of anti-establishment groups. And at one point, the entire country was terrorized by roving packs of high school girl gangs.
Ain't no way. What can these girls look like they bully people? Well, they ain't bully me. But how could Japan be afraid of these girls? These are just girls, nigga. I ain't saying girls are not like scary. I'm saying how could they be scared? What caused them to be what caused Japan to be afraid of these girls?
No, I'm being dead serious. They were called Sukeban gangs, and they were basically delinquent high school gangs consisting of all girls. And while they weren't the most dangerous criminals like the Yakuza, they were still involved in a lot of petty crimes like vandalism and even turf wars. They were so prolific actually that Japanese police sketches described their outfits as omens of downfall. But for all the fear and moral panic they caused, they were also a national sensation. Sukeban gangs were portrayed in so many movies and stories from Japan in the 70s and 80s, and they're an iconic character trope in anime now that you've definitely seen one before. So what gives, right? How did a group that came off as intimidating become a beloved trope in Japanese storytelling? How does one form a roving violent girl gang anyway? And what's with their fashion in those long pleated skirts? And the answer to all of that is a lot more complicated than you think. But before I tell you the story of the Sukeban, let me tell you a story on how you can get authentic snacks and foods from Japan through the sponsor of today's video, Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. Tokyo Treat and Sakura Co. are a monthly snack box service wanting to do that.
Send me one for free.
For sponsoring this So it's really important for me to mention, just like in my Bosuzoku video, Sukeban gangs aren't really much of a thing nowadays. They kind of died out by the mid to late 80s depending on where you read, and if you do see anyone dress up in Sukeban fashion now, it's more so out of the novelty of it all rather
because everybody said that shit was, well, I don't think everybody, but I never had a fond of this right here
than anything else. But that doesn't mean the story of how the original Sukeban gangs came to be is any less interesting. Because yeah, not every day you get to hear about violent all-girl delinquent gangs. And it all started in 1960s Japan. This was a time when delinquency was at an all-time high. No, seriously. While it wasn't the biggest crisis Japan was facing at the time, the number of delinquent crime cases were on the rise. And it was a genuine problem for the local community and police force. Delinquent groups like the male-dominated Bancho gangs, which were groups of all male students who were children to working-class families, were directly challenging Japanese conformity, especially amongst the youth. Add on the fact that Japan was directly challenging Japanese conformity, especially amongst the youth. Add on the fact that Japan was also in the middle of experiencing second-wave feminism in this time as well, meant that now you got a portion of said delinquent youths questioning their roles in society in
hey yo, stand up for yourself. Hey, I like that.
General. And it's in this storm of questions that the Sukeban gangs would get their start. But I have to mention two things. It's really important for me to say that Sukeban gangs were not Japan's feminist vanguards. They weren't quoting feminist literature as they roamed the Tokyo streets. It's just that they coincidentally wanted the same things that Japan's second-wave feminist movements also wanted, which was more independence and agency for girls like themselves. And two, this wasn't the only reason why Sukeban gangs were made. The primary reason why these all-girl delinquent groups popped up in the first place was on the simple fact that some girls just wanted to run things.
Bruh, I'm still figuring out how the heck was Japan afraid of the terrified of these girls
themselves. Most delinquent gangs in this time were male dominated, with female members at most only being able to achieve the rank of girlfriend to said male members. And some girls just weren't satisfied with this. They wanted their own groups with their own symbols and their own hierarchy and their own way of running things. And when they did get the chance to run things themselves, they used the very school uniforms they wore as a way of expression. As Yokogawa Mag said in their article about Sukeban fashion, quote, "The core piece that became to define the Sukeban culture was the seifuku, or sailor-style uniform. But the Sukeban version wasn't the prim and proper attire mandated by the dress code of the Japanese education system. Their skirts were lengthened to defy the rising hemlines of the era's vision of proper femininity. You know, in my Bosozoku video, and I mentioned that they wore something called the tokofuku, which femininity. You know, in my Bosozoku video, and I mentioned that they wore something.
This right here looks tough, but the hey, take off this and change that. Wait, actually, never mind. I don't know what the hell this word say or this word, but
which were these custom boiler suits that were embroidered with bright slogans and imagery, and how that piece of clothing became a unifying visual identity for that subculture. Essentially, it's the same thing here with the Sukeban, but replace custom embroidered boiler suits with your government-mandated school uniforms. The traditional sailor-style uniform was seen as a tool of the establishment, and in some circles, an objectifying tool. And when you have youth of working-class families clamoring for respect and identity, you get the desire for self-expression. So they wore long skirts and hiked up the top half of their uniform to expose their midriff. Their fashion went against the idea of what a proper school girl should look like. There was also a practical reason for wearing these long pleated skirts, which is to hide weapons. Some Sukeban groups were involved in petty neighborhood crimes.
Damn, what the hell? These girls beating the hell out of this nigga.
So things like metal bars and chains and even cutters were really easy to hide underneath these long pleated skirts. There's also the fact that pleated skirts look intimidating. No, it does. Being serious here, and this is not even a Japanese
not at me though.
Long pleated skirts like these add weight to a person's silhouette. It sways with you as you walk and can add a sense of bulkiness to how you move. So while one person wearing these long skirts may not look scary, a gang of them brandishing knives and metal bars walking towards you might.
Hey, a gang of niggas against a gang of girls. They fight. But hey, look. No nigga. I mean, I will never be scared of these girls. If I see them coming with metal bats, sticks, or some other shit, hey, I just gotta call my own gang, nigga.
Make you think otherwise. But either way, the outfit would serve the Sukeban's purpose. They were still school kids at the end of the day. They weren't gonna wear anything crazy. It was about sending a message to the adults just as it was making a visual identity for themselves. And eventually, they would be noticed.
That's
not
cool.
Just by the adults they tried to defy, but by Japan's very own entertainment industry.
You, just you, building your app on Base 44.
Yeah. Run over it.
So you might be saying, okay, learning about their drip is cool and all, but what did they do, though? At least gangs like the Bosozoku held rallies, fought the police, and blocked off highways. These girls look like they just do petty crime and farm aura. And yeah, that's basically it. Okay, for a better answer, let's go back to Sukeban fashion for a bit. You know those modern Japanese high school uniforms with the blazers and sweater vests that you see in basically every high school anime ever? Well, part of the reason why Japan switched to these kinds of uniforms IRL was because of the Sukeban gang. According to this paper by a researcher whose name
Well, that can be, nigga.
will not try to pronounce,
What did they do?
I know I will butcher it, said, quote, Sukeban, despite their bad behavior, reverently wore their school uniform both outside of school and post-graduation. To combat the Sukeban's brand of delinquent dress, high schools adopted the Western plaid skirt and blazers, ironically giving way to the new and major tribe of deviant teenage girls. And blazers.
Hey, Chad. What do y'all think? the new fits of the Japan guy right now, these looks or the old fit that Japan had were which fits do I think it looks better?
Ironically giving way to the new and major tribe of deviant teenage girls, Kogyaru. And honestly, I can relate. Here in Malaysia, pretty much all of our schools have us wear a standardized uniform, and we have to wear them for 11 straight years. And God help you if you added any kind of personal flair to your own
Hey, I'm glad ain't and none of that bull crap. I can wear whatever I want, the jacket, the black clothes, black on black, and yeah.
uniform, because the disciplinary teacher will bring down heaven's wrath on you. But my point is, the Sukiban were a nuisance enough to the authorities that there were genuine attempts at curbing their influence. While they weren't blocking off highways like the Bosozoku or doing the real big crimes like the Yakuza, they were disruptive enough in a way that mattered to them by being disruptively independent. They were still school students at the end of the day. They weren't gonna bust kneecaps or rob banks. And even if they did, it
That would be
depended
crazy.
on how violent that individual group was. Sukiban gangs were not a monolith. Most groups were involved in petty cases of shoplifting or small street brawls. But the simple fact that they were young girls acting outside the rules that society placed on them earned them a lot of street cred and a lot of curiosity. Rather than fear, some parts of Japanese society were intrigued by the Sukiban gangs. A wave of small indie films about the Sukiban came out to the absolute attention of the Japanese audience. Films like Sukiban Gorilla and Lynch Law Classroom gave the common person a glimpse into the inner workings of Sukiban gangs. But I do have to mention that there is some nuance here, because the movies that I mentioned were under the genre of pink films or pinky films. And the best way I can describe pinky films were that they were basically Japanese exploitation films. They were basically Japanese B-movies made by indie studios trying to make as much money as possible by capitalizing on trends like the Sukiban,
I hate that. I hate those niggas.
who were trending publicly at the time.
But look, you gotta be credit for you gotta give credit where credit is due, since they did make bank.
And in order to make as much money as possible, they made these films as violent as possible and as raunchy as possible. And while I can't really show these raunchy scenes because, well, YouTube, my point is that there was a bit of a conflict of interest. These movies were some of the earliest stories in Japan to have a Sukiban main character, helping to propagate
I'm gonna do one of these too. So,
their image a bit. But they also did objectify them in order to get people to watch these movies, which ran against the intention of some Sukiban gangs, which was to avoid being objectified. In the end though, these movies did make the Sukiban larger than life, further adding to their legend and how people saw them. It normalized the idea that women, in storytelling at least, could be portrayed to be ruthless just as much as kind. And this myth-making would get 10 times bigger when eventually anime and manga would make
damn,
stories
what the hell this anime is?
about the Sukiban. It was a catch-22 in a way.
They
At
put
the
it both
time,
their
they
ass.
were an attention-grabbing thing that made for new and unique stories. But if you did see them on the street, you were very much told to walk the other way. But eventually, the Sukiban gangs would fade in notoriety, both because of the Japanese government's increasing efforts to curb delinquent crime groups, as well as the simple fact that you can't be an outlaw forever. Just like the Bosozoku, when a Sukiban reached a certain age, they had to graduate out of the gang. Japanese delinquent culture is a very age-coded thing, meaning that by age 20 or 21 like that, you had to leave and get that job, unk.
Yeah.
But
And that's why you don't see no more gangs.
even though they faded from the limelight, they left a lasting legacy in Japanese pop culture. And the funny thing is, even before watching this video, you have definitely seen a Sukiban way before this.
Yeah, dude. Oh
You know
yeah.
that big presentation you have to finish? Well, it's not gonna write itself.
I seen this show before. This show what's called SF.
So just like the Bosozoku and Yaru, Sukiban is one of the most represented subculture tropes all across Japanese media. Doesn't matter if you watch anime, J-dramas, J-films, or just read manga, chances are you have definitely seen one before. And they are in places you probably didn't expect them to be. Like, yeah,
I do like that personality where girls are like more tougher. and they can fight.
You have the manga Sukeban Deka and its live-action films and series, which are considered cult classics in Japan. They're considered a really good place to get your feet wet if you want to explore the Sukeban genre. But then you get to the smaller titles that make you go, wait, that was a Sukeban? For example, in the series Sailor Moon, yes, that Sailor Moon with the bright colors, frills, and the never-ending use of the power of friendship actually had a Sukeban character. Emphasis on the word had. The character Makoto Kino was actually supposed to be a gangster-type character named Mamoru Chino, where Makoto in the anime and manga is this kind-hearted and gentle gardener with the hopes of opening up her own flower shop. Mamoru Chino was this rough and tumble, cigarette-smoking delinquent girl who ran with a separate gang. But this idea for the character was later changed down the line. And you can actually see the remnants of her gangster girl original draft by looking at her outfit in the manga. Long pleated skirt, hiked up top, revealing her midriff. And yeah, they justify her looking like this by saying that she's too tall and none of the school clothes fit her properly. But I maintain, it's way too coincidental to not be a leftover remnant from her original draft. And in terms
Hey, I feel that sometimes. Too tall, clothes don't fit you. That shit happening to me right now.
in terms of more
I'm 6'3" or 6'2".
modern representation, there's a lot. So much so, I wouldn't be able to cover them all in this last segment. Because like I said, this is a very old character trope that has been going on for a while. The one I'd like to mention is the 2015 anime Kill la Kill. I have a personal soft spot for this anime because it aired while I was in high school, and I'm gonna be honest, it's hard to call this anime a reference to Sukeban subculture when there are so many things evoking that Sukeban spirit. It's more of a hyper-stylized love letter more than anything else. Some scenes in the anime are a direct one-to-one recreation of shots from series like the Sukeban Deka live action. The overarching plot of the main character rebelling against a tyrannical school.
One nigga in the show, a couple of like stuff in the show is where that's too.
System is basically what the IRL Sukeban tried to do themselves, and said main.
I'm not fan made. What's that called? Fan service.
Character Ryuko Matoi wears an outfit that's oddly similar to the one that they wear in the Sukeban Deka live action series.
But I do like them.
If you still can't tell, this series had a lot of influence on how the Sukeban.
Wait, so basically, I still don't get why the heck was Japan terrified of schoolgirls. Yes, they were like gangsters. They wanted to, well, not gangsters, but like, they wanted to be known for something like. They wanted to be like known for like, or what I'm trying to say is. Shit. I still don't get why the heck is Japan ever afraid or terrified of these girls, because they didn't do like petty death, small kind of death. They want to break. They did went into fights, hey, and they did other stuff. But hey, I guess I will never get it.
One character trope would be portrayed today. And Ryuko's personality matches that of most Sukeban members. She's outspoken, itching for a fight, stubborn, and most importantly, violently independent. And that's the major theme for a lot of Sukeban characters. They come off as strong-willed and hot-headed, but ultimately they mean well. They're the rebels of the group. They're the freedom fighters, and more often than not, they end up as one of the closest companions.
They stand up for people that they care about.
To the main character. They're abrasive, sure, but that was the ultimate goal of the original Sukeban movement. To be loud and proud enough that society at large would have to notice you. And before
Oh, now I get it. Yeah, now
no,
I get it.
I'm not making a sob story for them. As petty as the crimes the Sukeban committed, they were still crimes. And while I can't confirm, normal everyday people were probably affected by them. But what I am saying, just like any other youth subculture not just from Japan, is that they spoke the only language, saying, just like any other. youth subculture, not just from Japan, is that they spoke the only language that was available to them. Violence and delinquency wasn't the goal. It's just that they were the only way to push back that made sure the adults in power got the message. Every youth movement and subculture does this. The culture changes, the clothing becomes different, the slang more complicated, but the tension is all the same. Can it be a bit goofy? Absolutely. But that doesn't mean there's no merit in listening or finding out why these delinquent gangs or subcultures exist.
What the heck did this nigga
There's
want
no
to do?
merit.
It's like, yeah, I'm the boss. If y'all get up, stand up, and try to fight back, I'ma hit you with my big ass stick I got, my rod.
In listening or finding out why these delinquent gangs or
Is that some? Is she touching her ass or something? Oh, this nigga had hurt her in her back. Beat all these niggas. Yeah.
subcultures exist in the first place. Were some Sukeban gangs motivated by the
all
simple
these
idea
girls.
of doing crime? Yeah, most probably. But equal to that,
All those
there
girls.
were members who just wanted to push the limits and behave in their own way. The Sukeban weren't trying to be remembered in media or in future stories. They were just trying to exist on their own terms, in their own way, in their own day and age.
Hey, I like that. This show right here, when Japan was terrified of still girls, Agent during pandemic. Yeah, they cool. Standing up for what they want. And not listening to people that want to put them down, or something like that. I like that. I like it a lot. Give praise. I mean, not give praise. Give applause to Muex Dotax for making this video. I like it a lot. And let me see. When Japan hated these kids, it rebellious game. Sometimes you gotta rebel. Get all that. I don't care about that stuff stuff. But yeah, if you like the video, like, subscribe, and comment what y'all think about the video. Comment what y'all thought about the Korean no Japan girl group, the rebellious girls. But yeah, peace.